I went to Caracas the first time 2006. I was sort of spurned on by Pat Robertson's encouragement of the assassination of President Chavez of Venezuela.
You know, I don't know about this doctrine of assassination, but if he thinks we're trying to assassinate him, I think that we really ought to go ahead and do it. It's a whole lot cheaper than starting a war.
We've just had a devastating set of decisions made for us with war, largely due to the fact that we are a country that's become increasingly gullible to the demonizing of foreign states or leaders.
Well, forget about Ahmadinejad. Is this the guy we should really be worried about?
Wayne says he's a maniac, but like unpack that a little bit, Wayne. I mean, the man is a socialist. That's what that is.
He's an economic terrorist. I don't know why we don't just allow bin Laden to have a stump speech here in New York, and I'm sure Danny Glover would support him as well.
Chavez is a very good example. I mean, much of the U.S. press describes him as a dictator. In fact, even our Vice President-elect Joe Biden recently described him in a rally speech as the Venezuelan dictator. He's clearly not a dictator by any international standard. Even Human Rights Watch declares it a democracy. The elections are some of the most transparent and credible elections in the world today. There's also mythology related to his oppression of the press. There, again, like in the United States, there are issues in all of these countries. It's not none of it's perfect. But I think that, and as I say in the piece, you know, that these countries only ever had two choices, either to be imperfectly their own or to be imperfectly ours. And like us, they prefer to be their own. In Venezuela, I think, you know, this is going to be a real test of diplomacy in the Obama administration. And I think, again, it starts with respect. And I think that frankly, he's off on a good foot in terms of his pledges and his will to meet with the leaders of these countries. My piece was primarily meant to be at the service of the United States of America. In that sense, I had a hunch and a little bit of information to you know, beyond what I felt was generally reported in the United States, to trust that the demonization of these people was a myth. And I felt that if I could at least open the discourse a bit more on about what really has been mythologized on that would be of value here. President Chavez was very gracious and spent time with all of us. Then we traveled to Cuba, and with the hope that, in particular, now President Raul Castro would meet with us. As it turned out, he had never done an interview before, but the timing was such that he decided to do it. But because he didn't want to add to what could be perceived as an insult to them, he narrowed it down to just one of us, and I was the lucky one. So I got to spend the time with Raul Castro, and which culminates the piece that I wrote.